Now let's go to the United States, and it is, in the words of the man building it, a fortress for the white race. And Eric Orwell couldn't look more the part. Blonde hair, blue eyes, who's posted videos online talking about the second coming of Hitler. He and his community exclude most of the world from what they're creating in a remote pocket of America. People of colour, followers of religions like Islam, gay people, all and more are banned. And it's structured in a way they believe makes all of this legal. The settlement sits in the state of Arkansas on the wider Ozarks region, highlighted here in green. Called Return to the Land, the community spans over 160 acres. Our data and forensics correspondent Tom Cheshire was invited in. This is his full-length report on what he found.
What we've done here is establish a place where we have control over who our neighbors are, and that is just for the sake of preserving, our culture.
And that culture, effectively, we're saying this is a white culture, a whites-only place.
White American culture.
Over the last year and a half, high up in the Ozark Hills in the state of Arkansas, dozens of people have been working hard, leveling the land, building houses. They call it an intentional community based around shared ancestry, a long-winded way of saying something really quite simple.
I think we would generally be called far-right, sure.
It's called Return to the Land, and they invited me in.
A lot of people are going to be, why are you making Nazi references?
Right. Well, why wouldn't I?
A seemingly bucolic and sometimes surreal experience. But this is built on a radical modern premise, made possible because of a new political and technological moment. One with strong ties to the most active far-right groups in the US. Instead of taking to the streets, they are building their own, for generations to come.
It's important for me to do this for my ancestors, my friends, my family, my children, my children's children.
But in this southern US state, people who have lived through segregation once fear it is returning.
When you hear things like that, it causes you to be fearful, and you don't know who to trust.
Its founder says he is building a fortress for the white race.
It's a racial association. I kind of want to ask you, after seeing this, do you think what we're doing is immoral?
Arkansas, in the southern United States.
Welcome to Little Rock, where the local time is 4:27.
For the last few years, I've been exploring how an ethno-nationalist movement has been organizing online. A network that aims to define countries by ethnicity, but which links across borders. And this is the place that one group has chosen to put that into radical, real-world action.
You want a white nation? Build a white town. It can be done, and we're doing it.
It is an extreme view, but it draws on more familiar arguments. That mass immigration is out of control, that Western societies are in danger of losing their fundamental character as a result.
So one of the arguments here is that this isn't about persecution of an ethnic identity, but protection of an ethnic identity, and that identity happens to be white. So we're going here now up into these pretty remote woods to really put that to the test.
We are driving deep into the Ozark Mountains. The group's leaders are not from Arkansas, and they've chosen these remote parts for a reason. All the locals I spoke to knew only a little about the group, if anything.
I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's not my choice.
Yeah, but do you think they should have the freedom to do it?
That's what they want to do.
I think it's kind of a little fishy around here, but just be safe.
The leader of the group is called Eric Orwell, and he's invited me to spend a few days with them.
Hey, Eric.
He insists what he is doing here is entirely legal, and that's key, because if it is, it could be a blueprint for many other communities to come.
Welcome to the Ozarks.
Thank you very much.
What we've done here is establish a place where we have control over who our neighbors are, and that is just for the sake of preserving, our culture.
And that culture, effectively, we're saying this is a white culture, a whites-only place.
White American culture. Yeah, not just white, but white American.
But what this sounds like is bringing back segregation. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, it's free association. So we're not trying to keep other people down. This is a small settlement in the middle of the Ozarks.
But they are being kept out.
You don't let everyone into your home.
160 acres taking shape, forest cleared, roads laid, cabins built. Around 40 people live here. Hundreds more from across the world have paid to be members. And I'm intrigued to find out what motivates people to give up their old lives for this.
We met here.
Oh, you met here? I guess he came here.
I met her on day 3.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a story. It beats Tinder, doesn't it?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
David and Caitlin not only met here, they got married last month. And they wouldn't be here without social media.
Somebody had posted a video of Eric.
Yeah.
I saw videos of them actually building stuff on the land. I was like, oh man, I gotta come check this out.
And I figure if there's nothing else like this in the country, it should at least exist.
Yeah.
Do people really think that we should never be able to choose our neighbors?
It wouldn't be controversial for any other racial group to do the same thing.
I think it'd be quite controversial.
Well, if you don't have rules against it, then, anyone of any race can come and be your neighbor, and they're watching the news, which is telling you that white people are, the cause of all your problems and all the ills of society, and suddenly, your children are much less safe because there's a lot of violence, anti-white violence happening to white people and white children. And so...
specifically sort of motivated by racism against white people. What sort of things the heavens are about to...
Yeah.
I'd like to continue talking, but the rain starts and it comes down hard. The residents shelter in their cabins and night falls. The next morning. This is how the average weekend works at Return to the Land, or RTTL, what they call a work party, made up of residents, but also new recruits who have come to check out the project. It is hot, hard work. To join RTTL, you have to sign up to the Private Members Association, or PMA. And there are strict criteria for membership, as Scott Thomas, a board member, and one of the founding fathers here explains.
You have to be a PMA member to live here.
Yeah.
So you have to be someone of European heritage.
The group's logo, based on a Nordic rune, draws on that heritage. It is the PMA that the group believes makes this all legal. Once members have been vetted on ethnicity and other grounds, they can buy shares in the Limited Liability Company, or LLC. Those shares translate to acres of land that they can build on. Peter Seri is the brains behind the legal side of things.
Civil Rights Act is there for a reason, and this is a way around it?
Yeah.
Do you think you'll survive contact with the legal system, the courts, if it came to that?
Hopefully.
Do you think it's racist or not? Do you reject that term? Do you embrace it?
I don't know about that term. People use it in a lot of different ways. I'm sure there's a lot of people on the internet who would call me racist. I don't really know or care whether that term applies to me or not. Maybe.
Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I almost don't know what racist means anymore. It's you're called racist.
A prejudice towards someone who's from a different ethnicity.
Well, actually, the modern definition of racism, according to critical race theory, all white people are racist automatically.
A lot of this is reaction to left-wing identity politics, critical race theory, and movements like Black Lives Matter. And fundamentally, this is identity politics, but white identity politics. And what they're building here is a safe space for people of European ancestry.
It's exclusionary, it's sort of an attempt at segregation.
Right.
Is that fair?
Probably.
While the men labour at the roadside, the women of Return to the Land are at work too, looking after the 6 children who live and are homeschooled here full-time. And they're preparing food for the weekly community dinner. The theme tonight, colonial.
I don't know, dinner's really important. I like feeding people, so I didn't want to put this off any longer than I already had.
Back in the day, when we first got the land here, there were only about 5 guys. I was living 40 minutes from here, and Jennifer was the first, family to be on the land full time. So we started community dinners back then, and it would be pretty relaxed because there weren't many people. But it is nice. It's slowly growing. So
They've come here to live for a variety of reasons, but their dedication to the mission is absolute.
My name's Nikki, N-I-K-I. I'm 32.
Cool.
I'm a lady.
My name's Allison, A-L-I-S-O-N. I'm 29.
Right.
And Caitlin, C-A-I-T-L-I-N. I'm 31.
I think people just have a large misunderstanding of what's happening here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's the biggest misunderstanding?
Well,
that we hate everyone else.
Yeah, it's not about that by any means.
It's a loving movement.
I mean, on that aspect of it being loving, I suppose the counter-argument would be it could be a very loving community if you're part of the community, but if you're black, or if you're Jewish, or if you're gay, you can't be part of that community.
They can have their own communities, and they already do, and I think that's great for them. If other people are allowed to do it, I don't really see why whites aren't allowed to do it. It doesn't make any sense.
But the goal is to have lots of these communities and for it maybe not to be rural, for there to be cities on the same basis, right?
Yeah, that would be neat. I look forward to seeing how this movement grows over time.
There are other ways to increase numbers. Nikki, Caitlin and Allison all met their partners at the community. And RTTL is explicit about this. It has an online fundraiser to give cash rewards to parents of newborns as a means to incentivise population growth. Just before we arrived, they had donated $1,000 to a family for having their 6th child.
Is that part of the mission as well, to sort of have big families, to make the community bigger? Is there a sort of pressure there?
I don't think so.
I don't feel particularly myself, I don't feel any pressure to have a big family. I think there's a kind of expectation here that you do want to, as part of helping grow this thing, that you're going to have kids.
There's not a lot to show around here. I basically just have the whole pasture area.
Peter is unattached. This is his homestead. He's been on a journey. He told me he used to be a liberal, a hippie even.
The knife is a tool. It has to be very sharp in order to cut properly.
He founded a commune in Ecuador, an intentional community based not on ethnicity, but veganism.
So this is your lot?
Yeah.
But he's also immersed in internet culture, someone who delights in provoking reactions, a troll. On the group chat on the messaging app Telegram, he's posted the numbers 1488. The 14 refers to the 14 words, a white supremacist slogan. And H is the 8th letter of the alphabet, so 88 means HH, which means Heil Hitler.
Because you've put that in the Telegram, for instance. What does that mean when you place that in Telegram 1488?
Well, I use it as kind of like a funny comment throwback.
As part of that Nazi discussion, another frequent topic on the online chat is the Holocaust. Usually minimized, sometimes even mocked.
But the Holocaust, stands as a unique crime in the history of
Well, that's your opinion.
Really.
I think the Holodomor was much worse than the Holocaust. That's my opinion. I mean, we're allowed to have opinions.
Yeah, well, we can say they're both bad. The Holocaust was bad.
But do you know anything about the Holodomor?
Yeah, in Ukraine, the famine, I know a little bit about it, and I know it was awful too, and it was sort of deliberate, but we can also agree the Holocaust is bad.
Well, we don't have to say that one was objectively worse than the other.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, was the Holocaust a bad thing?
So basically all I'm saying is that I don't really see it as concerning that people are talking about Hitler when it's acceptable, it's publicly, socially acceptable in the United States for leftists to support Chairman Mao.
It's quite difficult to agree on even the very bare minimum here.
It's just interesting, sort of, when we're coming to talking about the Holocaust, it's always about something else. And, I think most people would agree the Holocaust was a bad thing.
Right.
But you're not willing to agree with that.
What, do you want to talk about the whole... I mean, it seems like an interesting subject, but...
It is an interesting subject, but I also think that was a bad thing, but I think the Holocaust was a bad thing too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, are you asking me a question?
Yeah, I'm asking you, do you think the Holocaust was bad?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Holocaust was bad.
RTTL is based on exclusion, but that also means building community for those allowed inside. This isn't just for our camera's benefit, to present a veneer of clean, healthy living. It's central to the project. Like many far-right movements before them, RTTL's mission is to show that by excluding others, they can live purer, more natural lives. As they put it on their website, to cultivate wholesomeness, beauty, health, and hope. Let's talk about hope. As much as RTTL might like, they do not exist in a separate world. Pocahontas is the nearest town to the settlement. And hope means something different for Pat Johnson.
I'm Tom.
I'm Pat.
Oh, you're Pat. Lovely to meet you, Pat. How are you?
We met her before we went up into the hills.
It was about 25 students that attended school here.
The whole time, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's really tiny. There you are.
Yes.
Second from bottom. How old are you in that photo?
I don't know. I think probably about 12 or 13.
This is the school she attended in the 1950s, a school for black children only, because she was not allowed to be educated with white people. Unlike the members of Return to the Land, she is Arkansas born and bred. For the first 15 years of her life, she lived under segregation.
We could not go to school together. We couldn't eat together. We couldn't do everyday things together. Each day that you leave your home, you are under rejection.
And Pat had hoped those days had gone.
When you hear things like that, it causes you to be fearful, and you don't know who to trust.
When I explain what Return to the Land is doing, just half an hour's drive away, she's not so sure. And in her eyes, there's one main reason for that.
And I feel like that's the change of, and I'm just going to say, I think it's the change of our presidency. That's what I'm going to say, because I feel like that's where the change is. It's allowing people to have the right to be open for hatred.
That may be a feeling, but it is also backed by the data. These are all the white supremacist incidents, demonstrations, leafleting, recruitment drives, meetups over the last 4 years in the US, tracked by ACLED, an organization that monitors violent conflict and protest. There has been a dramatic increase over that period. It has become a background thrum of nationalist activity. Patriot Front is the most active white nationalist organization in the US right now, according to ACLED. Its leader is Thomas Rousseau.
Foreign races have never successfully assimilated en masse into American culture and nationality.
And the group has tight links to Return to the Land. Eric and Thomas speak on each other's podcasts and have fast-track membership for both organizations.
Comfy? Feels good?
Yeah. It's about time we spoke to Eric.
Less than 50% of children born today in the US are white. I'm white, my kids are white. There is something to your background that informs who you are, your sense of identity. And we don't want that sense of identity being taken away from us involuntarily. So we're taking control of that situation and creating an environment where my kids can celebrate their identity and not have it, threatened from outside, I guess.
But why is that threatening you? Why is that an issue that you've had to address? There will always be white people.
Well, I'm feeling a little nervous now in the interview. We are forced to accept people into our neighborhoods, into our businesses, and into our lives who won't share our background, who won't share many of our cultural priors, even moral priors. We don't have a rule stating, if you have X amount of non-European ancestry, you're definitely out. In many cases, yeah, that would disqualify someone.
Were I to apply to the PMA and my views were different, I'd probably be allowed in. Do you think that's likely? I know it's a case-by-case basis, but just off the top of your head.
Yeah, possibly we would accept you in the PMA.
I don't understand white American culture, but you'd rather have me in that case. I just wonder, though, whether some people watching this, having heard all this intellectualizing, this rhetoric, would say, fine, but actually at heart, this is just, it is just prejudice, it is just bigotry, it is just lowest common denominator racism dressed up in these arguments.
And I would just question the moral frame. Why is it wrong to identify with your own people, want an integrated culture where you can be yourself?
Just to boil it down to, what for you is the definition of racism?
When I was a kid, I suppose I interpreted racism to be judging someone solely on the basis of their race. And is that a good or bad thing? I think this basic moral consensus treats it as automatically a bad thing without a lot of reflection.
This is my last day here, and before I go, I want to speak to John. Not a leader like Eric or Pete or Scott, but an acolyte, a young one and newly arrived. He's only been here a month.
So I'm trying to knock off some of this more good topsoil, give it some more.
We'd seen him when we first came up. He guided us in on his bicycle.
It's just you have a community where you feel like you belong here. You have people you can talk to, and I can't explain it. It's too beautiful. It's nice.
He'd been working on Scott's new house over the weekend. In return for his labor, he gets cheap rent. John dropped out of college, and he's worked jobs all over the United States. He's 26, younger than the leaders who are all in their 30s. If they are the recruiters, he is the perfect recruit. And for John, the primary motivation was financial.
To me, it's economical. It's an economic decision, right? And, everything else just kind of falls in line. Yeah. But the main thing to me is cheap land. Everything else is a bonus.
You've got 2 levels here.
Yep. Got a loft up top, and this is the main area.
It's a living area down here. So it's quite comfy, right?
It is quite comfy. As for excluding people, I don't see it that way. We're trying to embrace our culture and our heritage. It's been denigrated, if you ask me. We've turned into a melting pot of a country for a long time now.
There is one last thing before I go. A concert put on in honor of our visit.
This first piece that Peter and I are performing, it's called The Virginia Colonies by Fred Cooper. The English governor returned to take his place.
Eric himself takes the stage.
This is a Baroque flute, also known as the German flute or the penny whistle. It was a very popular instrument in colonial America.
It's not easy to look tough with a flute, even if it's German. But the audience is rapt.
Would America be better as a white nation state?
Better in what sense?
Would you prefer, completely blank slate, America is just an ethnically white country?
I would probably feel more comfortable there because I'm white, and that's the way that this country was when my ancestors came here.
You also talk about Hitler in your videos a couple of times when you've talked about people are waiting around for a new Hitler to come. Mm-hmm. And you said he's not going to show up. You have to do the work for that Hitler to arrive.
Hitler is a very controversial historical figure. I think the mainstream view is one-sided. It's informed by World War II propaganda, but also the contrary position that Hitler did nothing wrong that many people online say, that's also a one-sided view. I think all historical figures are complex, multidimensional, but when I say you're gonna have to wait for that new Hitler to arise, I'm not saying you're gonna have to wait for a new person to start a new Holocaust. I'm saying you're gonna have to wait for a charismatic leader who's going to advocate for your interests, because that's how a lot of people see Hitler. I'm addressing how they think of Hitler, not my own view.
There are other PMAs, other bits of land that are going ahead.
Yeah, there are 2 other groups, actually 3, organizing. One in Appalachia, one in the Pacific Northwest, and then another one here in Arkansas.
So this is the growing movement?
Right now it's growing very quickly. Yeah, we have applicants every week. I would like to see more communities so that people in all parts of the U.S. have this as an option if they want it. I would also like to see us network and branch out internationally to a greater extent.
Is there anything you want to talk about that I haven't asked about?
I kind of want to ask you, after seeing this, do you think what we're doing is immoral?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah?
Yeah. And that's not, for me, it is morally objectionable. I think the way we've talked about it is, I don't think it is like a country club. That's the difference. I don't think this is sort of free association. I think you are depriving people of a fundamental right to housing. That's how I see this issue. And I think the reason I'm asking those questions about where it goes from here, I think that is a thought experiment, but I think if you replicated it large, I think I would be unhappy with how that looked if it were in my country and if I were on the receiving end of it.
You think intentional communities shouldn't be able to associate how they like?
Not on the basis of race.
And the Arkansas State Attorney General told us, "This is the first I've heard of these allegations. Racial discrimination has no place in Arkansas or anywhere in a free society. These allegations raise all sorts of legal issues, including constitutional concerns. My office is reviewing the matter." This is how members of Return to the Land often spend their evenings, around the campfire. It's not especially kumbaya when it's about keeping other races out.
You can splice this into the shots of the interviews. When somebody says something like a little bit like racist, just like
spicy.
switch to the gasoline blowing up on the fire.
The bulldozer isn't just a novel way to build a fire. It's also a reminder that this group's ambitions extend far beyond cozy get-togethers in the hills.
I think Scott's bringing more wood over. Yeah, we might want to move over a second.
The conditions and materials for that to happen, the politics and the technology, have been on hand for some time now. And once set alight, who knows how fiercely it will burn and who the flames will touch.
And Tom joins us now. Tom, excellent investigative piece there. Just talk us through what it was like being with them for so many days and sort of, really kind of absorbing what they're thinking about and how they operate.
Yeah, I suppose a lot of it had been absorbed by the time we got there because the internet is so important to this. So just hanging out in the chat groups, seeing the videos that are posted. But you see that and then you wonder what it's going to be like when you get there. And it's really remote. You're driving for a long, long time from Little Rock, the capital of Arkansas, up a long way and sort of tornadoes flying around everything. You get up there and then here they are, these people you spent a lot of time researching, preparing to meet. And it was a little uneasy to start with. I think there are people who didn't want to be there, who didn't want to be filmed. There are people who just sort of stayed out of our way. But after the sort of first night, we just talked and made it clear that we were willing to talk, to speak to people, to hear their point of view. After that, I think it got a bit easier and people felt slightly more comfortable with having the cameras in their face, really, a lot of the time.
Yeah, and almost like I guess they could trust you and put their guard down a little bit. There were so many parts that that I sort of raised eyebrows for me. One of the moments was when one of the characters talks about or finds it difficult to accept that the Holocaust happened or to talk about it. And then in the end he comes round. But are they his views, on public platforms?
Yeah, I mean, given what he's posted before that, I think that was a function of having the cameras down. So yes, their guards were down. They felt more comfortable eventually, but they're still aware, we're a news crew, we're reporting, we're up in their business, basically. And I think that was only after sustained pressure where he finally admitted the Holocaust might be a bad thing. But then today on X, after our report has gone out, he's posted a screenshot from that, appearing to deny the Holocaust happened again and then saying it didn't happen, but it should have. Now, that might be part of his sort of humour, that very troll-like, trying to get a rise out of people. So, maybe that's part of that. But that's the sort of culture they operate, the sort of things that are said online. In the group, there's a lot of people who've been sort of talking about me on that now, saying it's probably because I'm Jewish, because there's a lot of anti-Semitic chat on that group. And all sorts of other sort of comments on there. So I think, that was best behaviour, but hopefully was still enough to give people an idea of where they're coming from. Because I think it's important not just to sort of dismiss this all out of hand and say, look, this is a bunch of racists in the hills, which is, what some people have been saying online about this. There are arguments here which are pretty common across the Western world, I think. We can sort of talk about how far you agree or disagree with some of those, and then whether they've followed the right conclusions there. But I think it's important to sort of interrogate this rather than just brush it aside and say, look, these are just people trying to get a rise.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom, like I said, great reporting, and you can learn more on our website. I'm just going to keep you there because we're going to bring in Heidi Beirich, who is co-founder of the Global Project Against Hate and Extremism. Heidi, thank you so much for joining us here on the programme. Just looking at Tom's piece there, talking to him here, just throughout the piece, you could really hear them trying to justify what they were doing, talking about the fact that they're trying to preserve their culture and not trying to harm anyone else. And why shouldn't they have a whites-only community?
Well, first of all, let me say Tom did a wonderful job of getting them to talk and talk honestly about their beliefs. I mean, the fact of the matter is this is just bald-faced white supremacy. I don't care if you dress it up as what's wrong with us having our own community or any kind of other strange arguments. That's what the deal is. And these folks are following in a long line in the United States of attempts to reimpose segregation in various ways. And it's extremely problematic. And I might add to you the comments about the Holocaust in particular were quite disturbing.
Yeah, we just talked about the fact that, how disturbing that sort of denial of the Holocaust was. And just talk us through the legality of this, because, again, they're justifying this by saying what they're doing is not legal. But talk us through some of the things that's going on and whether it is, in fact, illegal, because they continue to cite the First Amendment, for example, and freedom of speech to be able to do some of the things that they're doing.
Well, it's clearly illegal to have a project where you're selling land or property on the basis of race. We have a law in the United States called the Fair Housing Act, which forbids segregationist selling of homes. So there's no question that they can't get away with that. These comments about, say, the First Amendment, the right to a free assembly, you're perfectly able to say anything you want pretty much anywhere in the United States, no matter how horrible it is, or to assemble. But when it comes to realty, you're not allowed to do these things. And that's because there was a horrible history in this country of denying people of color the right to buy homes in areas where whites predominated.
So I guess the question then is, are there going to be, or is there any legal challenges? Do you think the authorities will start to get alarmed, especially if this starts to create a trend?
Well, I'm glad that you all reached out to the Attorney General's office and that they actually responded in this case. My hope would be, and I think the law demands, that there's an immediate investigation into what they're doing and that they're stopped from doing this kind of a racist housing development. I mean, it just is absolutely illegal under American law. And the fact that this is spreading, right, with possible compounds in other parts of Arkansas, Appalachia, the Northwest, is all the more reason to nip this in the bud.
Well, Heidi, we're grateful for your time. And Tom, thank you for your reporting. Thank you both. Now, the UN Secretary-General today used the words horror show to describe what he sees in Gaza, adding that starvation is knocking on every door. Antonio Guterres spoke in New York as medics in Gaza said that a 6-week-old baby was among 15 people to starve to death in the past 24 hours. And the UN Human Rights Office says more than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces while trying to get food since May, a figure disputed by Israel and the US contractor running aid sites. Sky's Lisa Holland reports from Jerusalem.
Gaza's doctors say they're treating an influx of malnutrition cases, and in particular children. It's impossible to verify the numbers, but the United Nations has painted a vivid condemnation of aid distribution and its impact.
We need look no further than the horror show in Gaza, with a level of death and destruction without parallel in recent times. Malnourishment is soaring, starvation is knocking on every door. And now we are seeing the last gasp of a humanitarian system built on humanitarian principles.
This is what the head of the UN is talking about. The abject chaos and danger Gazans face trying to get food. Aid used to be distributed mainly by the UN. Now their warehouses are shut because Israel accused Hamas of stealing and profiting from sites like this. The Israeli and American-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation took over the running of aid in Gaza 2 months ago. They're accused of failing to feed Gaza's people, and the UN claims around 1,000 people have died at or near GHF sites or trying to get food, prompting a war of words between the organisations. In a statement, the GHF said, "The false and exaggerated statistics from the UN seem to come directly from the Hamas-controlled Gaza Health Ministry. The UN's reliance and coordination with a terrorist organisation to falsely smear our effort is not only disturbing, but should be investigated by the international community." The UN has hit back, saying its operations need to resume in Gaza.
We have always said it's important to investigate these killings. What the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation then and the IDF needs to do is to investigate this, not completely dismiss that this is not happening. There is such severe lack of humanitarian aid that anything that's entering into Gaza is being looted. The solution for this is simple in one way. Allow the UN and other partners to take massive amount of humanitarian aid into Gaza.
Israel controls the borders with Gaza, and as it pushed on with its assault into Deir al-Balah in central Gaza, there was no sign of any easing of restrictions allowing in much-needed supplies of aid. Lisa Holland, Sky News, Jerusalem.